What's up, you beauties? Welcome to another episode of HW Hockey. I'm your host, Jim Michkov, joined as always by Jack Smith. You can find us on YouTube. If you're watching us on Twitter or Facebook or Twitch, head over to YouTube. Give us a like and a subscribe. Our goal is 50 likes for the episode, and we're on our way to 2,000 subscribers. We just hit 1,800 tonight. So if you haven't subscribed yet, if you like what you hear tonight, if you like what you see, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening as a podcast tomorrow, join us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We have a lot of topics to get to tonight. The Flyers had a big week last week, made up for that dud against Tampa Bay last Monday, finished 3-1 on their road trip, and unfortunately ran into the Penguins last night. We'll get to that. We also want to talk about the unfortunate news of Tyson Foerster out 2 to 3 months. That's going to be a big topic of our show. And the implications. Should the Flyers have called up Alex Bump? We're going to have a big conversation about that. Matvei Michkov heating up. Is it time to add? So we put that in the topics before the Foerster injury. We're going to find out if that changes anything a little bit later on in the show. So while we wait for you guys to kind of pile in here, Jack, let's kind of recap last week. Flyers were shut out by Tampa Bay 3-0. And while it sucked at the time because it was a really boring game, Tampa Bay is just on an absolute tear. They've won 8 or 9 in a row, something like that, just absolutely steamrolling teams. And the Flyers caught them at an unfortunate time. The bright side of that is the Flyers proceeded to win the rest of the games on their road trip. They finished the road trip 3-1. And before last night, were 14-7-3 and sat in the top 3 in the Metro Division. I mean, heading into last night, things were looking pretty good. Michkov's heating up. Zegras and Tippett are finding rhythm. Talk about the last week a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think you laid it up perfectly. We were pretty down of that Tampa Bay game. There was no energy, and they came back and they beat the defending champs again. And I really thought they were going to lose to the Devils. I'm like, there's no way. They beat them the first time. Now they're going to New Jersey. Yeah, and Jersey's been good. And I got to love our Flyers account taking shots at New Jersey, their account, because it said something like, we don't lose in Jersey. And they just put the eyebrow. And it was just like, that's just the game they don't win. And they looked great, and all things were running great. And I think you could tell they were feeling themselves a bit. I was at that Penguins game last night, and it's how quickly things can change. And I could live with the one loss, because at the end of the day, no matter how bad they played, it was one loss. But the losing of Foerster as well was just like, geez, it's almost like they went 500 last week. And it looked really bad, where they looked good for almost the entire week, except for last night's game where they didn't look good at all. I mean, the first period was okay, but even Vladar had like that first goal. Like he should have had that. Leaves up a rebound that, of course, who else but Crosby eats right up. And they just lose a game. I really thought they were going to be competitive at the very least, for God's sake. And I also thought they might win. Those kind of games do happen. I hate when it's against a hated division rival at home. But the losing of Foerster just put such a dark cloud over anything positive that's happened in the recent couple of games, unfortunately.
It really does, right? Like the Flyers seem to they're seeming to find they're starting to figure things out. They're still maybe not the most entertaining team to watch, but they're putting wins in the W column there. After last night, still 14-8-3. 6 games over Hockey 500. But even with the loss last night, and I think the guys after the game, Bush and JJ, were saying similar, a loss is fine. They're not going to go undefeated. But losing a guy like Foerster, who is arguably one of their better, if not their best defensive forward right now, and then obviously starting to figure things out offensively with that wicked shot, starting to use it more often. The puck just is starting to find him in shooting lanes, in wide open spaces to get pucks on net. So really unfortunate timing. And I got to tell you, I'm a little worried that something like that could happen just off of a shot like that. Like I've never seen that in my life. And I know he had the separated shoulder a few years back. And I want to bring up a point about that. But separated his shoulder. I believe it was back when he was with the Phantoms, when during the COVID season, when maybe he was too young, too small, and they allowed 19-year-olds to play in the AHL. Ended up separating his shoulder, and all he's doing there is shooting the puck. And does the shoulder pop out? Like I know they said upper body injury, so we're kind of left to speculate, but that certainly seems like the most obvious, not obvious, but you could assume his shoulder came out, and that worries me a little bit now. Unless he was hit somewhere earlier in the game where all it took was whatever happened. But I'm a little worried about Tyson Foerster going forward. I know he's 22, 23 years old. But to me, like we talk about guys being injury prone, that's an injury prone type of injury, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be. It's hard to say until we know what it is. Everybody's also bringing up the bicep that was just a big issue over the summer, which he barely was able to return from, but he did. And it's a shame because he was really on fire. He scored last night, power play. It was all downhill right after that injury. I actually almost missed, based on where I was sitting, the scrum that happened around the net because we were all looking at Forrester like, what has happened? Did your arm just explode?
It actually could have.
I guess so. My first thought, and I know I'm not alone. I don't even know how it makes sense. Went to the bicep. It was the most recent injury. I don't know how it could have happened. And here you go. I did see this. If it was a torn bicep, it matches what could be the recovery time. So I really don't know, but that's where my mind goes now. Either way, it's a freaking shame because he's been so good. He's either gotten off to a slow start, then looked good, or has he got nicked up with some injuries, and he starts to get going, and he gets this big injury here. It's like, geez, can we just? I really thought he was going to flirt with 30 this year, and he looked like he was really starting to heat up. And stupid, talk about freak accident, I guess. And now he's out for 2 to 3 months, which I hope it's more on the 2 side. Maybe he'll get to the Olympic break and come back after that is the hope. But that really, what a bummer for how things have been going this season for this team and really for Tyson Foerster. We'll see. I don't know if it's a long-term thing going forward to be worried about him. If it's a shoulder thing, like you were saying, that pops in and out, that could be something of an issue. I feel like it's the bicep. But
yeah, maybe that's got to be it.
Maybe I don't think it is, but you never know. So something to keep an eye on. Probably, hopefully, just unfortunate at this time. But either way, like that combined with the big L, what a horrible start to this week.
Yeah, it seems like something that he's going to need the offseason to come back from. The bicep sounds more likely than dislocating your shoulder on whatever shot he was doing there. So, okay, let's say it's the bicep. So does this change anything for you in regards to the outlook of how you're seeing the rest of this season? Because I got to be honest, it may have changed things for me. But what are your thoughts? Do you see the rest of the season a little bit differently now?
I guess I do a little bit. I mean, we're going to have to see how the team responds. Guys are going to have to step up, and we're going to have to see if they can, and we're going to have to see what the reinforcements can do. We're going to get into this, but part of who steps in for a bump long term is going to have an effect most likely on the completely ineffective fourth line. So if they move some things around and move some pieces here and there, depending on who jumps up and if they can stick, if it's a Grabenkin, if it's whoever, and they can kind of at least cover for him. And maybe Seagrass plays even better than he does. Maybe Michkov fully comes out of his shell. Maybe TK is more effective on the score sheet and in the game as well. As right, like last night, there was a chance. I was like, is he going to go back to full TK? He was pissing people off. Draws a penalty. I'm like, if he just gets a point on this power play, like he's back. Is that player going to return to the form he was at? Can the goaltending keep things up? Are we going to get Risto back? And because I heard he was skating with the team or has been cleared to, if he comes back, how does that affect things? So there's a lot of factors here, but ultimately to answer your question, I went for the long answer, and I'll give you the short answer. Yeah, it does. It does affect my outview because I already had them as a playoff bubble team. Teams like that really can't afford to lose anybody, especially at Foerster's caliber, especially the way he had been playing. So it's hard to view this outside of somebody coming up and freaking out. It's hard to view it not. It's hard to not think, unless you thought they were a bottom 10 team already. It's hard to view how they've been playing, especially against good teams, and think that they're going to keep that up because they're already a boring team. They already have trouble scoring, and you just lost one of your top guys who can put the puck in the net.
Yeah, and so it's funny that you just said that. So I was thinking, they have guys that can fill in and kind of take his production offensively, right? I'm thinking Tippett and Michkov. Like, they have guys that you can plug in there, Konechny, and fill in with the offensive stuff. Where I think they're going to miss him is defensively. He's going out every night against the top units from the other team. And I did see this comment from John, and it's funny because I don't know if John, I don't know if you're trolling, but the Flyers just beat the Devils twice in a week. It was just a one-off kind of game there. They beat the Rangers a few times last year. They just beat the Islanders. And I'm not sure if you're trolling there, John. Let me know in the comments if you're trolling. If you like another team, you're more than welcome to hang around, but the comment doesn't really make sense there. I'll read it real quick for the people listening to the podcast. So John chimes in, Flyers were awful last night. True. Not ready for the game, especially against Pittsburgh, Rangers, Boston Devils, Islanders. One would think they would play like professionals playing these teams. So if you're a fan of another team, feel free to hang out, but that comment's just not true. All right. So back to Foerster. So does it change the way that I see the rest of the year? If I thought the Flyers were going to make a push for the playoffs, it would, right? And my mind would go to, well, I wanted them to make a move. If they were going to continue winning and with the mediocrity or the parity in the Eastern Conference, let's go make a move. Let's give these guys a boost. They're doing all the right things. Let's make a push, go trade for somebody. Now, I'm like, well, all right, let's pull back a little bit because things change throughout a season. And when things change, your plan also has to change, So when Foerster goes out, it's like, okay, well, let's see how they look without him for a few games, right? Let's see who can step up into his place. Konechny has been not himself, right? He's been okay. I don't want to say he's been terrible, but he hasn't looked like himself. Does he now step up? Does he, he's got the A on his chest. They lost one of their better players. Does he carry the load now? Does Michkov stay on his heater there? John chimes in real quick. Yes, they did beat the Devils, and the Islanders just thought they would have played. Yeah, of course, we all did. I don't think anyone was expecting for them to look like they did last night. I think they beat Pittsburgh the last time they played, right, Jack? So maybe Pittsburgh had it out for him or something, a little revenge there or whatever. So it does change the way I view the rest of the year. But it's not that I think they should tank it up now. It's still a year to see who do we have? Who's going to be part of this next year still? And maybe that sounds lame to say because that's what we were saying through Tortorella. And we can kind of move forward a little bit here. If they called bump up, which a lot of people wanted, Jack. A lot of people wanted to see Alex bump, and understandably so. It would be sort of an audition. What if he doesn't play well? What do? You send him back. What if he does play well? What does that mean? What does it mean if Alex Bump plays well? Is he going to be here long term? Is he a guy that you put in the lineup over Foerster, Tippett? So I have questions now, and I mean, what are your thoughts on? I'm saying a lot of things, Shaq. What are your thoughts?
I mean, if he comes up and he plays well, it's a good problem to have because it's night and day from how he started the season. We see what he's doing with the Phantoms. I would like to see him score some more goals. He's definitely on this. You got the points. What's he got? Like 15 points in the last 13 games or something. And I'm not sure what he has for the season. But I would like to see some more goals from him because that's what you're going to need him to do up here. But ultimately, this guy we were hoping would make the team out of camp. That was his goal. And the only way after he started things out for him to make his way back up here, we all knew he was going to have to play well with the Phantoms. And there was going to have to be a spot for him. And both of those things have happened. So I did think about, at first, that was my thought. It's going to have to be Bump. Now you're talking if he's called up and he's good and then Foerster comes back, what are we looking at? I think they'll work things out. I think somebody's probably going to have to go to the fourth line, but that's fine because the fourth line has been completely ineffective and you can just rotate guys out, try new things with different lines and whatnot, and give somebody a break and they'll figure that out. I'm not too worried about that. Come the off season, some tough decisions are going to have to be made and they should be, it just happen anyway. There should be heavily into the trade market and they'll make room that way. So we can deal this season. I don't think it'll end up being a big problem. Him playing well would be phenomenal. And then because there's always that like, can he stick though? Did he come up and play well, but he didn't play the full season, or does his play start to tail off towards the end of the year? The whole NHL grind, things of that nature. So you're going to naturally have to deal with that anyway. So I think if he just comes up and looks like he belongs, you can maneuver things around and give him a break when needed and kind of ease him into the schedule and the lineup and things of that nature. So I would be okay with that. I think you had another point though, at least you did on Twitter, where what they were doing currently with the Phantoms that you didn't want to break up. Is this true?
Yeah. And it kind of made me laugh because Bob Rotruk, who is Mr. Phantom, put out a tweet that said Barkey and Bump are one of the most dynamic duos in the AHL. And I think for Flyers fans that maybe aren't following the Phantoms, and if you're watching our show, you should be because we're putting out the updates every week. You know that they have something going on down there. And I've said in the past, my philosophy would be to have your pipeline teams be successful as well. That's how you truly develop a winning culture throughout the organization, not just at the end point, right? Because if these guys go through losing and mediocrity through the pipeline, by the time they get to the show, that's all they're going to know. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So what the Phantoms have going on right now is the culture has shifted there. They were mediocre for 4 years under LaPerriere. And so things are changing a little bit. They have an injection of youth. Barkey, Bump, Dorwart, Devin Kaplan. A lot of these guys playing really well. A lot of the kids that you want to see playing well at the AHL level. They have a nice infusion of vets. Danny Briere has pushed the right buttons with some of these trades. Christian Kyrou, the guy they just called up, Carl Grunstrom, they got from San Jose in a deal for Ryan Ellis, the ghost of Ryan Ellis. And this guy's got 15 points in 19 games with the Phantoms. Now he's bottom six, fourth line guy in the NHL. But as we're seeing right now, these players are valuable. So hats off to Danny Briere for making smart decisions, for drafting well. I don't think he drafted Alex Bump, if I remember correctly, but he did draft Barkey. He signed Dorwart as a college free agent, and things are kind of clicking around down there. So they're developing now a culture. There's a belief in Lehigh Valley that every game they go out and play, they have a chance to win, And so my whole point was, don't break them up. And I know the argument is the Flyers are what counts. The Flyers are what matters. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not sure I really understand that because they're not winning the Stanley Cup this year. And for a player like Bump and Barkey and whoever else is down in Lehigh, that's at least a rookie or in their sophomore season, the goal should be development. It shouldn't be they need to win games with the Flyers now because the Flyers aren't going to win every game. They're not going to win the cup. The goal should be development for a guy like Alex Bump, in my opinion. Now, some people might believe that you can develop with the Flyers. I think I've said this before. I hate that, developing players on the NHL roster. I don't know if this is fair to say or not, but you should be coached up. You should be developed to the point where you can actually play on an NHL roster. You shouldn't be developing players on an NHL roster. Does that make sense?
Partially, yeah. I wouldn't want players developing in the NHL on a bad team. I understand that. If it's like a team that's perennially good, like those Boston Bruins teams of the past, or even the Penguins teams of like the teens, like I can understand moving somebody who's somewhat ready, not just cold, into a winning organization, a winning way like that. But where the Flyers have been in the last 12 years, it's hard to see a young player, especially lately, going into that environment and being expected to thrive. I get that to an extent. I think Bump is a little different. I love everything the Phantoms are doing. I love Snowden deserves a lot of credit. Briere deserves a ton of credit. The players deserve a ton of credit. They're doing a lot down there. They're actually a lot of fun to follow, really. And I've really been doing that with your updates. I watch what games I can, but your updates are, you're telling me about guys playing I didn't even realize. So, and you had said that the vets are really chipping in, and it's not just these bumps and barkies and whatnot. So, but I'm at a point, it's tough. So at first, when everything happened, I'm like, it's Bump's time. Like, this is why he didn't play with the Flyers at the end of last year, and he chose to play with the Phantoms. He wanted to make a shot at making a team out of camp. Obviously, that didn't happen for very obvious reasons. However, he didn't bitch and moan like previous players have in the past. I'm thinking of Vorobyev's and Wade Allison's. Like, he actually went to work, and he's become one of the most dynamic duos with another player prospect down there. So, like, also, I feel like in a way he should be rewarded. Like, he wants to play in the NHL. He's set up. Like, he forego gone playing games at the end of last year to make the team this year. So part of me is like, he should be rewarded for what he's doing. I understand the long-term, everything you're saying about the long-term developing of the player. And I do agree with that to an extent. So where I landed is ultimately what I think they're going to do probably does make the most sense. They call up Grundstrom, he's got like 300 something, maybe 400 NHL games under his belt. Yeah. So it's not like he's just, all right. It's not like they just called Tony Richard, who I do like, but somebody like that who just, let's get the 29, 30-year-old some NHL games. Like, this guy's been in the NHL, and it's going to force them to move the things around on the fourth line. Obviously, Gurbenkin's going to probably be playing more long-term, and really getting a real shot and crack at things. And Grundstrom can play on the bottom six, probably on the fourth line to start, and just see if you can change things around there, which obviously need to happen. And then you're giving Gurbenkin a true shot. Now, I say you give that, 3 weeks or so, and you see how things go. You can keep your Barkey and Bump together. If Gurbenkin doesn't start to, at least show that he can do it or belong, and I'm not saying you're out on the guy, but then maybe you make a change. Maybe you send somebody else down and you bring up Bump at that point. That'll extend it another 3 weeks. If he's still playing well, then maybe you give him a shot at that point. So I think what they're ultimately going to do here is not what everybody wanted and expected right from the get-go, including myself, and bringing in the quote-unquote goal-scoring high-end player and Bump who can probably play more in the top six. They're going to give Gurbenkin a chance, who, to his credit, when he's looked his best, has been on lines with talented players. So, look, he's got how many goals this season? 1, 2? We know for a fact the fourth line has 0 goals. So he and Nobles have scored goals not playing on the fourth line. So, look, it's not as sexy as you'd like, but I understand the thought process. As long as they do pull the plug if they have to and bump up to the NHL in some time. If this was like a 3-4 week injury, I'd understand it, but it's 2 to 3 months. We really should see Bump at some point. Like, when else are you going to see Bump? In what scenario? This is a long-term injury. They're probably going to want to be smart and safe with it, especially if it's the same freaking arm, potentially the same bicep they had an injury with over the summer. If things aren't working out with Gurbenkin or whatever else, he's got to be next man up. Like, you've already made an excuse to not bring him up once. I understand what you're saying about the development and what he's been doing down there. But at some point, you got to reward the guy. You also want to see what he can do with it. Maybe he just needed to get himself going before he was ready to play in the NHL, and that's why he didn't do so good in training camp. He just wasn't ready. Where last year he had been playing in college consistently and was ready to go. So I can see both sides of it. Maybe we get a little bit of everything, make everybody happy. He doesn't get doesn't get rushed, but eventually gets here. And you see what you got in Gurbankin. A lot of people like Gurbankin, and he's in and out of the lineup on the most inefficient line in hockey. So now he gets a legitimate shot. So there's multiple ways to look at it.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head went. Like, they have a player on the roster that, could be playing with the Phantoms in Gurbankin if you want to get him playing time. And everyone's kind of complaining, why isn't Gurbankin playing? Why isn't Gurbankin in the lineup? Well, a guy goes out, and now this is who you would assume would slide in, Gurbankin. Like I never really liked Gurbankin on the fourth line. I think he has some offensive talent. So get him in on that third line, get him in with some other guys who can kind of move the puck and get the puck on goal. Now, let's face it, if you're playing with Obels and Hathaway, we saw it with Luchenko, you're not going to get the best offensive looks, right? So give Gurbankin a chance to succeed now with some guys who can, play a little bit of offense and see what you have there. And a guy like Grundstrom is kind of the perfect fourth line guy. He's got size. You're seeing that he has a little bit of offensive game in Lehigh Valley. Let's see if he can kind of kickstart things. Look, I'm not hoping that he's going to come in and light the world on fire on the fourth line, like as I mentioned with Obels and Hathaway, but maybe give a little bit of an injection of life. This is a former second-round pick in Carl Grundstrom. Where'd my page go here? But back in 2016, 6 foot. If I'm squinting, one of my contacts moved in my eye, so I'm looking with one eye right now. I feel like a pirate. So like, this guy is not inept. He's a competent player. It was a sensible move. I have to imagine it was somewhat. Look, if I want to give these guys credit, maybe it was a difficult move. If it was me, if I was the GM, it was a simple move. I'll let those guys cook together. Let them, continue forming a bond down in Lehigh Valley. Keep the kids together. Let them succeed together. Then when it's time to start calling them up, for me, this is longer term thinking. And I'm sure Flyers fans are so sick of hearing long term and, let people develop. They want people now, right? And
we've waited a long time, Jim. It's been a long time.
So I'm thinking of bump. Right? Is he going to come? If he does come into the NHL now, like what are you expecting from Alex Bump? And chat, you can chat, give your response to what are you expecting to see from Alex Bump now? Former 4th-round pick, played really well in college, starting to figure things out in the AHL, as we mentioned multiple times. 4 points, 12 assists, 16 points in 20 games. In the AHL. A lot of those points have come recently, as Jack mentioned. But Jack, what are you expecting from Alex Bump if he was called up for tomorrow night?
Look, I'm not expecting him to come right out and just start scoring at will. That's for sure. I'm looking for him to, at first, just look like he belongs. Play responsively, especially defensively, and maybe maybe not the very first game, but I want to see some energy. I want to see him stand out a little bit, use his speed and whatnot. But I really just want to see him belong and then start to chip in offensively. I don't view them putting him directly in the Foerster spot where he's taking one-timers off the power play. Like, that's not going to happen. He's not going to replace Foerster. He would just be another offensive option that has the high-end skill to play with your higher-end players and just kind of see what happens. So I would hope he would just come in, not make any massive mistakes, look like he belongs, and then slowly start to chip in offensively until it was a more consistent thing, gradual growth. I think the same people who want him here tomorrow or yesterday rather, if he doesn't get a point in his first, 7 games, would be flipping out about it too. So I'm not there. I'm not there at all. I know the team is turning a corner and they want to win and all that stuff. But yes, deep down, especially with our own prospects, there is a development curve here, and we have to remember that. So I'd be all for it if he were to be called up based on what they think of him as a player, how he's improved in his draft slot tremendously, how he carries himself. and what he tried to set himself up for this year and how he's responded. I do think he's deserving of the promotion. Maybe it just gets delayed a little bit, but I like how he's carried himself. And I want him around the NHL players more and more. So that's a bonus within its own right. But if he were to get called up, and when he does, it's really about when he does, I just want him to take his time and make sure he looks like he belongs, starting with all the little things and then start to chip in offensively. And when I say start to chip in, that's not 30 games from when he comes up. But I think he's too much offensive skill to not. And he's got to not be scared this time. He was timid in the preseason because he was making mistakes against other players trying to make the team, and therefore not everybody was NHL caliber. So now it's a different animal. But maybe he'll be in a better structured system in that regard. So we shall see. But I'm not expecting the world like a lot of other people may be.
And so, like, I don't want to be the guy that's going to be Debbie Downer, but, like, if Alex Bump was called up and scored 5 points in 30 games, people would be pissed, right?
Yes, it would.
But, like, we have to think about who is he going to be playing with on the Flyers. He's going to have to develop chemistry with new line mates in the best league in the world. You know, it's going to be all new to him. It's going to be an adjustment period. And I'm just going to say this. Alex Bump has offensive skill. There's no doubt. But of the Flyers wingers, when he's called up, not better than Konechny, not better than Michkov, not better than Foerster, not better than Tippett. I would argue right now, Bobby Brink might be a better NHL winger than Alex Bump. And I feel like I'm leaving a wing out. Like,
well, Foerster's hurt, so
I think for whatever, I think the expectations for Bump are sky high because the Flyers really like him.
It's also found money, 5th round pick.
Sure.
It's like found money, yeah.
Sure. And and for me, that's where, like, expectations need to come in a little bit. Like, there will be an adjustment. He's found chemistry with players in the AHL, and as we've seen, because he wasn't scoring like this the first 5-10 games of the season, it takes time to develop that stuff. And you know, the competition is not as good in the AHL, and he's playing with more skilled wingers. He's playing top line in the AHL. I don't think he'll be playing top line in the NHL. If he gets a player like a Trevor Zegras, maybe we'll see some numbers. But for me, it just, for development reasons, it was like, all right, what makes the most sense for Alex Bump's development long term? Do I leave him in Lehigh Valley to continue succeeding, building up that confidence, you know, having him think that he is a force, and when he comes into the NHL, he can step into the ice with confidence and put some points on the board? Or do I call him up now, you know, kind of take him from that success, put him into the Flyers lineup and say, let's see what you can do? And if it doesn't work out, I'm just sending him right back. It's like, hey, what you're doing in the AHL is good enough, but not good enough for the NHL right now. Is that good or worse moving forward for a player like Alex Bump? You know, would that hurt his confidence, you think, if they called him up for 5-10 games and they're like, oof, no, you're not ready yet? Or do they wait till they think this guy's surefire ready, you know?
I mean, he'd have to play really bad for them to do that. And if they didn't do that, I think the team front office would take a lot of heat, because Foerster's out long term. And the natural guy based on skill to replace Foerster, it's just Bump. You know, I know you might want to change how your team is operating and move things around with other players like Rebecca, for example, and see what you can get there. And that's fine. I understand that. But if you are calling up Bump, it is like the team is pretty obvious how high they are on the guy. I would have to imagine they'd have to give him some significant leash at this time, unless he was horrific. Even then, I don't think they need to immediately send him down. I think they would just give him a game off and then refresh and try again. I do understand the concern where you bring him up, things don't work out so much. Now you've hurt his confidence. If you send him down, does that hurt his confidence? Does he lose what he had going with Barkey? And I understand that, but there's a part of me that's like, get over it, grow up. You know what I mean? If you want to be back here, if you really want to make the NHL, then you got another chance and you blew it. You have to earn it again. That's your penance for blowing your NHL opportunity. Get over it and get over it fast if you want another opportunity here. And have players like Vorobiev and Wade Allison be cautionary tales that, sulking and saying it's not fair, understand that it's only going to hurt you. And he's a pretty arrogant, confident guy. So I would assume there was a little thought that he might be if he didn't stick, but I also think he's a realist and he'll understand that he needs to be good to stay, not just because he thinks he's good. He's actually got to prove it. And that's what it's going to come down to. He'll be the one to dictate whether he stays or not. And I think coming into this season, because he had done pretty much everything right, it's up to him to stay and to be that player. And I think he's rolling now. I think it's definitely he'll have a better opportunity now than he would have been in preseason. Unfortunately, he probably didn't know what he was up against and ready for. And it happens. They're all human at the end of the day. He was 21 years old. Now he's got some real confidence. He's been playing in the AHL long term. He's putting up points. He's 16 points in 20 games, only 4 goals, but still, you're still putting up points. You're a top player on one of the top teams in the AHL at 22 years old. You can't hate that. So he was my first choice to come up, obviously, but I totally understand what they're attempting to at this time. It lets him cook a little bit more, especially if he keeps scoring. And then when it's his time to shine, he just takes the ball and runs with it. I don't think it's the end of the world. I've seen stuff like this. Now, we're going to wait for Jim to get back before I bring up their other option besides bump. And I don't know if I agree with this. And that would be looking outside the organization at some potential trades. Particularly, I believe Vancouver was mentioned. But maybe I'll preface it a little bit why I killed time for Jim to get back here. So the first name that comes to mind on the trade market from Vancouver has been Kiefer Sherwood. Now, I would love for the chat to tell me their thoughts on Kiefer Sherwood here. Let me see if I can share my screen. I don't even remember how to do this. Give you some stats. Let's see. No, it's not that. No, I'm not inviting a guest. I did this before when I did my draft stuff. Share screen. Duh. There we go. All right. Sherwood share. Is that the right guy? What are we seeing here? Yes. Okay. So as you can see, Sherwood, he's been around a little bit. Ducks, Avalanche, Nashville. Nashville is the first time he popped up on my radar. And this past year, Vancouver. The rumors on him is he's looking for a 5-year deal after this season and $6+ million. I mean, plus mil. My goodness. I don't know. Do they really want to make a short-term trade for somebody? Whoa, Mr. Magoo.
Sorry. Don't fall asleep with your contacts in, kids.
My goodness.
Lose them in your eye.
Oh, yeah, you look like you were struggling over there.
I couldn't see shit.
So I kind of moved on from bump after I went on as long as I could. The next thing I brought up was the third option was the potential rumors of a trade, particularly with Vancouver for certain players, and also because of the Rick Tocchet connection. I was just talking about Kiefer Sherwood. Jim, have you seen these rumors?
Yeah, I've seen stuff. Kiefer Sherwood's available. I think they're looking for like a first-round pick, and man,
he wants like 5 years, $6 million after that. I mean, you were talking about them. Are they going to make a trade? Could they make a trade at the deadline before the injury? Obviously. With the injury, is this even something you even consider? Take away the price, because that's just ridiculous. But take away the price. Is he first off, is a trade something you consider? And is a player of Sherwood's caliber somebody you consider?
I would still look at trades, but not for Kiefer Sherwood. No, and I'm afraid a little bit because Tocchet was out there, and he seems like a Tocchet kind of guy,
right?
But no, I would not be trading for Kiefer Sherwood. 30 years old, really 19 goals and 40 assists are his career highs. And I know you need bottom 6 guys. I think he led the league in hits for like 3 years in a row or something like that. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but not a guy that I'd be looking for right now. Although maybe like, I don't know, maybe he's like a Hathaway kind of guy. It's an interesting one, right? Because I wouldn't be giving up a first round pick for him if they can get him for less than a first round pick. You said he's looking for how much money?
The rumor I saw was like 5 years and like 6 million plus.
Yeah, nah.
Like when you talk about a Hathaway guy, which I agree, and he'd probably be obviously a better version of that at this point in his career. But like that's if we saved up assets and we're drafted players and we have all these assets to make a move, and they use those kind of assets on a player of that nature, I'm like, are you guys serious? Yeah. All the talent you have, we know we can fill up with our prospects. We can definitely fill up the bottom 6, even the bottom 12. It's the top 3 that we're looking for. Like we're looking for top end players. If they're wasting prospects or assets on a player like this, it's like, dude, are you serious? And then you're going to pay him a good chunk of change too. To me, doesn't make any sense. But these are legitimate rumors by like Elliot Friedman and things of that nature. It doesn't direct them per se, but it has said Flyers and Vancouver. Look out for that. And another name I saw, this was connected to the Flyers directly, would be. Did I show you guys the right stats last time? Yeah. Okay. Would be Connor Garland. And now this is a player I've always liked, but again, this is not going to come cheap. And he is, I'm trying to catch his age there. He was played with the Coyotes for 3 years, Vancouver for 5, including this season. So he's probably late 20s around there. He's definitely going to cost you a pretty penny. But again, he's also a winger. We're going to trade significant assets for wingers in a season like this. Like if they were like at the top of the league right now,
he's also 5'8".
Oh yeah, that fits.
He might be smaller than Bobby Brink, actually. He might be 5'8" on skates.
I mean, outside of the Pettersson and Quinn Hughes rumors from before, this was the one name I saw directly linked to the Flyers. Now, I think it might have been speculation, not an actual. They like this guy. But yeah, bringing that up right there, like, I just don't understand why this is being. Now, they were looking for a trade before the injury of like some depth center, but none of these guys fit that bill. These are like energy skill guys that are going to cost you a pretty penny. I don't get it. Do you think this is just smoke and mirrors, or do you think they're actually like, oh man, we told the league that we're going to turn things around this year. Losing Foerster was a blow. We don't have faith in Bump yet. We're going to see what we have at Gurbankin, but we still want to be competitive to attract free agents or trade candidates. Like, what do you think of all this? Is it just blowing smoke up our rear ends?
I'm sure Vancouver is feeding stuff to Friedman, and Friedman's trying to connect dots maybe, and obviously Vancouver's old coach, Tocchet, is now the Flyers' new coach, and Tocchet has his guys, I'm sure, out in Vancouver. I don't want any parts of Sherwood or giving up assets for Sherwood or Garland. They don't really make a lot of sense for me. Like, they should be looking for the Flyers have been said to be in the market for a depth center, so they should be looking for that. If they should be in the market for Quinn Hughes if he becomes available. Those are the guys. And I know everyone's probably saying the same things. And there are teams out there that could maybe use a Connor Garland or who was the other guy you mentioned there? Or Sherwood.
I think Besser could be available as well. I didn't pull up his stats or anything. They had like a list of guys that would be available, obviously, besides Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. And, it's like guys have been there forever, like Tyler Myers, obviously not going to trade for defense, but like Besser, another winger. It's like, it's just a bunch of guys that it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm with Perg on this one. I'm always looking at Buffalo for, and obviously Robert Thomas isn't bad either from the Blues, but like if they make a trade that involves anything, it depends on the prospect, but anything from a third round pick and up, it's got to be long-term. It's got to be long-term thinking. It can't be too old of a guy. If they want to trade a fourth rounder down for depth, something, and the fourth rounder, I'm a little iffy on, but if they are trying to win or whatever, I'm a little more understanding of something like that. But if they're giving up a third round pick plus for a player like that, it just does not make sense, like a Sherwood or a Garland or even a Besser, as much as I liked him, like all the wingers you have, you're going to give up legitimate assets for a winger. Like, that'll just go against everything that you've been building and you've been telling us. You have wingers for days as it is. We're in a position where we should be moving on from wingers just to make room, but also to get players that we want. When you have a strong asset or a category of assets that are all the same thing, and you have these other categories where you're lacking, it only makes sense to move them for that, plus your draft picks, which is universal currency. They should not waste universal currency on players that are going to be here most likely for 1 year or cost you an arm and a leg, which is a big head scratcher. I know the cap's going off, but come on, Keith or Sherwood, 1 year at 40 points last year, 19 goals, 21 assists. His next highest year was the year before, 27 points. He only played 4 more games. He's off this year. He's got 12 goals, which is a lot for him. Only 4 assists, though. 26 games, 16 points. I mean, I know $6 million isn't what it used to be, but freaking Noah Tippett makes a little over $6 million. You're going to pay Sherwood. I know he does more than points, obviously. But like when you start paying your bottom 6 guys all this money, it's going to dilute what you could do where it matters. If we already had our top end talent players, maybe it's a notion I consider more to, like, something like Toronto should do, because when they had back when they had Martin and they had all their top guys, they were always trying to add those bottom 6 guys who could do a little bit of everything, but mostly hit people and stand up for players and whatnot. But we're not in that scenario at all. It just doesn't make any sense. I think they're completely blowing smoke with all that. And if we're trading any assets or doing anything like that, we are doing it for top end players. We're big game hunting, and that's the only trades we should be making. And it's just not something that happens mid-season. I doubt it even happens at the trade deadline. Long story short, I don't think a trade is the way they go here. I think I would have went with bump right away. I can understand if they have a certain leash. All about it, Travi. All about it. I think a lot of us in the chat here are in agreement with this one. Darlene as well. Or Owen Power. Take what you can get. I'm always looking at Buffalo. Always looking at them in the standings when they're playing somebody. I'm always looking at them, hoping they lose. Am I crazy, or did I not see something at the beginning of the season with Buffalo that now they may not have said them by name, but they may have, that Darlene and Thompson were both like, look, if things don't change around here fast, we're going to want to move on. I believe Thompson's like 27, 28. Darlene's like 26. Like, I get it. Like they want to win. They want to be out of there. So that's where I would spend the money on for.
I'm talking about Buffalo.
Well, it was like, I just don't see a trade with Vancouver making much sense. And then Travi brought up, and somebody else did too. I think Flyers Purgatory brought this up as well for Tage Thompson. And my mind kind of naturally went towards, Buffalo's. And I really do scoreboard and standings watch Buffalo. And I just asked this question now that you're back. Did I dream this, or did Buffalo kind of allude to, here we go. Thank you, Travis. Like Thompson and even Darlene kind of being like, look, if things don't change, we're going to want out. And I don't know. I know that, okay, so Thompson's mentioned something. I thought Darlene was apparently a part of that. I know Owen Power may be available. I don't know if he's been vocal about it, but I get it. Like, those are the guys I've had my eyes on since the start of the season. Vancouver seems nice and all, but I'm not going for these tier B kind of guys. They should be looking at tier A's and onward. And it's like, why hurt your asset pool or for something like that? And I think we're entertaining the idea because of what rumors we had heard, but I think ultimately they're just useless rumors.
Yeah, Buffalo is the team to look at. And you're talking about a franchise-altering move. Like, I think for myself, I'm always like, okay, well, let's go get one guy. Let's go get one or the other. Whether it's Darlene, Byram, Power, Thompson. But I think in Buffalo's case, and they've been winning a little bit more lately. So let me just.
I got it. I got you.
You got it up already? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen so make life easy.
All right.
I'm getting good at this.
So, yeah, they're a team to look at. And
26. So their record is better than when I last saw it.
Right.
In 26 games, they're 11-11-4. So technically they're under 500. But the last I checked, they were like 8-11-4. But like, you know what though? That may be a little bit better lately. But I think when Thompson was expressing frustration and these rumors were being floated, it's got to be playoffs or bust. not just a step in the right direction. They still got issues in goal. They got other players not performing to what they thought they would.
I hope it doesn't get better anytime soon.
I agree.
For me, they're the target. And like I was saying, like maybe they should be looking at a franchise-altering trade here. Like,
talk to me, Jim.
Like 2 players. Like they should be looking at, I don't know, whether it's Dahlin, Byram, Power. Take your pick of whichever one you want, and Tage Thompson. Like get them both in one foul swoop. You got a shot to do it here.
What would you give up for that, Jim? Who'd you say? Power?
Well, take your pick of Power, Byram, and Dahlin. Whoever Buffalo is willing to package with Tage Thompson, because you're getting a top 4D out of those 4.
All right, I gotta ask you something crazy. Let's get a little nuts here, okay?
Yeah.
What would you give up in a trade for Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin?
All right, let me bring the Flyers up here, because it's going to have to be a lot. So let me bring the Flyers and Buffalo up here.
Yeah, I think you're emptying the cupboards.
Yeah. So Buffalo is Josh Norris just came back. Hang on, I'm bringing all this up. Give me a second. I'll share it. Give me 1 second.
Hey, Travis, I brought that trade up because I love that trade. Part of me, it's not the same. It's not one player for multiple players. But I have a feeling that there's a chance, and we'll see what other trades happen with the Flyers. There's a chance that the Zegras trade could be that trade for us because he has been ridiculous. If he stays this good, that could be, at least at this time, that trade.
All right. So we're looking at the Flyers roster. We already know what they need. They need help down the middle. Tage Thompson can play center as well as right wing. And we're looking at defense. Now, the defense will look a little different when Ristolainen comes back. I still think that they'd be willing to move on from Emil Andre, even though he's playing well. I don't think Rick Tocchet likes him, even though he's playing decently. I think he wants more. He said it. He said that he wants more size in his defense. So I'm curious to see what happens when Risto comes back. But okay. All right, so we have the Flyers lineup here. We know what they need. Let's take a quick look at Buffalo and see what they need. Let me head over real quick. I'll share that screen. There's a lot of screen sharing going on here. Stay with me. All right, here we go. Now I'll take a look at Buffalo. You can see they have some centers. Michael McLeod, Josh Norris just came back. I think he had 3 points in his first game back, something like that.
Yeah.
So I would have to imagine they want to at least see if they can get something going. But you can see they also have some wings here too. Zach Benson, Josh Doan, who they just traded for, Alex Tuck, and Jack Quinn. So they have some wings, but nobody that's really blowing the doors off. Tuck's in the last year of his deal. Josh Doan also in the last year of his deal is probably going to get a bump in salary there. Same for Zach Benson. Defensively, they need help on the right side, at least I think. So,
yeah.
All right. So tell me who you want out of the 3 defensemen, and then I'll start putting a package together. Dahlin, Byram, Power. You're pairing them with Thompson.
I mean, Dahlin's obviously the one I would want, but if I'm trying to be realistic with what we could trade to get them both, I'm probably shooting for a Power or a Byram. My issue with Byram is he thinks he's a better player than he is, at least his time in his career. I don't know how he's been this year, but I do know that we didn't trade for him in the offseason because, one, the price of Buffalo was something we weren't too keen on doing, but also the money that Byram wanted. He thinks he should be paid as the number one, and the number one in today's game is, 10+ mil, and he's not there yet. There's no way. So I would probably rank it Dahlin just based on pure. He could be he's a franchise guy already. Owen Power, then Byram, but I'd take any of them.
Okay. All right. So where am I at here? Let's go back to the Flyers. All right. So we're talking most likely Byram or Power and Tage Thompson. Let me go to the Flyers. Where's my screen share tab? Here it is. I'm going to have to edit for the podcast here. Sorry. If you're listening as a podcast, this will be edited. All right. I mean, you're talking at least, Tippett would have to go the other way.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are like, Yeah, Tippett's the worst winger. But no, I think teams are going to want an Owen Tippett, cost controlled, $6.2 million for the next 6-7 years. You could see that the guy has skill. I would argue Owen Tippett could be aside from Foerster, who can play defensively, but offensively, Owen Tippett could be the most exciting winger on the Flyers. Over Michkov right now, over Konechny.
Oh.
And so he's a guy that I think teams will want. It's not just we're shipping him off.
When he's on.
Yeah. So Owen Tippett, obviously. And it sucks because you're breaking up the chemistry there with Zegras and Dvorak, which I think is a legitimate good line for the Flyers.
We'll get over it.
So you have to give to get. So Tippett is one. And then you need to give I think a defenseman as well. And that might be, I don't know. I don't know if they have, I mean, it might be a Jamie Drysdale. It might be a Bonk. It might have to be a Bonk. If you're getting one of those guys in return on the left side of Bowen Byram, Owen Power. I doubt they want Ristolainen back, 31 years old. So now we're looking down for prospects here. I don't know if Alex Bump could be a guy as well mentioned. There's a lot. I
think Luchenko goes in that deal.
Yeah. So for something like this, it would take we would have to come ready for the next show because it's just too much.
Well, I'll say this much. If it's Dahlin and Thompson and you're not trading Michkov, I think you're completely emptying the cupboards to an extent. I think Martone is definitely in that deal. Jets in that deal. First round picks are in that deal. Tippett, maybe even Foerster, York. I think you're really backing up a truck to get one would be tough enough, especially Dahlin. To get both, holy shit, it'll never happen. It's too much. It's too franchise altering. However, oh my god, if they manage to do that and keep one of Foerster or Martone, obviously keep Michkov, and damn, you can give him a goalie prospect. I'm sure they could use that. I hope you can keep on the. You could probably get away with keeping a Zavregan because they may not have the Russian connections to want to deal with that. So Bjarnason would definitely, or Kolosov would definitely go in the deal as well. But it would be a lot. It would be a ton. You saw what we were I was willing to give up for Quinn Hughes. It would be way worse than that.
Yeah. And this is something that we can bring back for the next episode because I just. I would take too much time trying to look to build a deal.
It would be rough,
and it wouldn't make sense. Yeah, it would be how it is now.
I'm tempted.
I would tip it in, and you know what I mean.
I'm tempted to just download NHL and update everything, and then just try to find out myself. And that's a video game. Yeah. Just curious. But it's weird though. Look, there's no way in the NHL video game you're getting Zegras for Paling and a couple of picks. You know what I mean? So who knows? These guys, if they're really truly selling, but there'll be a buyer's market for sure. They'll be able to, have everything, which is why it'll probably be in the offseason if they even go that route. And how do you sell that to your fans? But these guys force your hand. What are you going to do? But these are the kind of trades we should be talking about, not Kiefer Sherwood. We should be talking about these top end guys. That's who they should be going for, and they should be giving up a lot to get it. That's where they're at. The free agent isn't there. This is what we should be doing. And you have a plethora of wingers as is. We should be talking about moving off on multiple ones. If I keep this up, I'm just going to go right down the same rabbit hole I always go through.
Trade Tippett.
He makes the most sense from a variety of ways, at least today.
My argument would be we want these players like Tage Thompson and whoever it is. And, we rag on Tippett, but he's good enough to put in a trade to get these guys. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Well, not on his own.
So it's
not on his own.
Which way is it here?
He's just the guy that
we don't want.
He's just under the microscope constantly. He can't do anything right when he's off. And when he's on, it's trade him while he's on. He's a frustrating player. When he's not scoring, he's not doing much. And that drives Flyers fans nuts. And we're not in a position to have a luxury asset like that. Like if you're a team like Pittsburgh back in the day, where you already have Crosby and Malkin and Letang and, Flower and even Murray as a backup or however, and you can go ahead and add a Phil Kessel who just scores goals for you. Like you can do that, but we're not in a position to have that. We need to get the core first. So, and you already, if you didn't have a plethora of wings, I can understand it too, but you do. So it just makes too much sense for him to trade, love or hate. He just makes the most sense. Now, if another team doesn't view him as a luxury and they're just looking for Buffalo's interesting because they need exciting players out there. They really do.
So do the Flyers.
We show up. Buffalo, my God, man, it's pretty barren out there. Like, and we still need a core. Like Michkov should be an exciting player. Zegras is an exciting player. Like, and they have other guys who are coming. Tippett, if he's not on, is not exciting at all. He's just frustrating. And we don't handle that here in Philly very well. It does not go well.
Is that a problem with Philly or is that a problem with the player?
It's a fact, is what
I'm asking, is it a problem with
both.
Philly or is it a problem with the player?
I think it's both. If we were rolling and we were good and we had a player like Tippett, I don't think we'd be half as hard on him. Because of where we are, we're much more harder on it because we rely on him more than we should. Plus, he got the contract as well. So
it's a great contract.
It certainly could be.
I think you don't think it's good right now?
I think it's okay. I think it's fine. Like there's people out there tell you it's a massive overpay still. At the time of the contract signing, I was like, he's going to grow into this. I think it's okay. I'm not there yet. I don't think it's a steal. Could be for sure. It's nudging in that direction, but if I have an opportunity, which is why what you just said, that's a great contract, right? A team like Buffalo could use really good contracts.
Yeah.
So that's why his name comes up. So, and it's not like he's selling him on his own and getting this massive haul. He's just part of the piece that we're sending over the whole trade deal. So that's why he's an easy one for fans. We'll get it. We're getting what these players mentioned. You get over losing Tippett, no problem. No problem. That contract is a part of why his value is where it is. And we're okay with giving up other stuff because we've been building for so long and have these assets. And we can replenish a Tippett ourselves. We can address the center position or the defensive position and replenish our own winger position. To me, that's better than just having a shitload of wingers.
Yeah. There was something I was looking up while we were talking there. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. That's like the dream scenario to get your 1D and potential 1C in one foul swoop. So yeah, you would obviously have to give to get there. So
I can't imagine a trade like that going down. It would be so much.
But that would be the team, right? Like,
I mean, to add Thompson, have him play center, and have Darlene be your number one franchise defenseman at 26 years old. I mean, holy crap! It almost wouldn't even matter what was left as long as Michkov was a part of it. You could definitely make things work, and then you have money too. But there are a lot of assets. It would be very painful to see what went the other way. So
yeah, I'd be interested to see what would, because it seems like Buffalo is in the business now for like hockey trades, right? Like they moved Paterka for Josh Doan and the defense Kesselring,
yeah.
Which
they've also
be a decent little
Buffalo.
Team.
Yeah, but for like their MO has not been the smartest of moves, Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a team I would like to engage in trade discussions with. Not saying it's a foregone conclusion we'll win out, but if I'm talking to anybody, it's a team that has a history of GMs not making good decisions, hence why they haven't made the playoffs in 15 years, or whatever it is. I think 2011 was the last time they made it. I mean, that's a long time ago, Jim. Holy cow.
Yeah. No, sorry. I was listening. Yeah. If they go on like one of those little losing skids there, I'd be curious to see, and we'll have to wait for the off season maybe for something like that. But if Tippett is going to be involved in the deal, I can't remember the date. I think it's a modified trade thing.
I think it's the start of next season. I think it would be July 1.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my guess. I would assume it's the start of next season, which is typically July 1, because that's when all the contracts officially swap over a year, hence all the free agents.
The Flyers, I think, have 2 first-round picks this year.
Next year.
Is it next year? Okay.
27.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the draft where I would want to stop. I mean, you certainly don't need 2 first-round picks in 2027.
Briere's already said he viewed that as something they would use to add to the team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the plan. Let's go for it. There's no trade that pick now, whenever, as soon as possible. So I want to make trades with teams that don't have the biggest history of making good trades. And if you have a player kind of forcing your hand a little bit, can make things interesting, unless the whole league gets involved, and then you're really paying a pretty penny. But
yeah, this might be the year I want to hang on to my picks, unless, something comes across your desk.
Well, now with the injury, that's another reason. Why are they going to trade with Vancouver and potentially give up a first-round pick, which is wild, in a year where nobody's giving up 2026 first-round picks? And also, we just lost a player. It's going to hurt our overall standing. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Now, I'm not saying they still can't make a trade without trading it first, but like some of the players being mentioned, I don't see it. I'm sorry. It's just no.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, when I hear that stuff, I'm like, that's got to be just rumors, right? Like, people feed and stuff. Because why would the Flyers have any interest in that?
Yeah, I think some people naturally make the connection to Tocchet. And I think a lot of it is Vancouver trying to drum up interest and get these prices they want, like Sherwood for a first, and knowing what he's going to want to resign for. It's kind of like, and it's been done before. I've seen guys go for first-round picks that's baffling, and even fourth-line guys, and it just, if you could drum up the interest. So hopefully it's just rumors and we stay out of it and look within for now. And then at some point, the only trades we should be looking at outside of a 7th for a fourth-line depth guy, or the big game guys that we just kind of discussed. And a third. First and a third, Travie. I bring that one up all the time. You know how much I hated that for Stieg. First and a third for Christopher Stieg. And Paul Gustad was like a center for Nashville. 4th line, first-round pick. It's wild. It's wild.
So I'm not here with the trades. If Martone it needs to be a return in a trade, I'm not doing it.
I really like Martone, and a part of that is because Jim's great coverage of not only the AHL but the college hockey ranks as well.
Yeah, he's going to be an absolute beast.
He's going to be our Kachuk too. He's going to put up points and toss people around. Like he's going to be the perfect Flyer. Like I really don't want to trade him. Like but if you're presented with getting a true stud and then some, like that Buffalo deal we discussed, Thompson and Dahlin, and Martone's got to be in the deal. Are you automatically out because of that? I mean,
well, I would be out I would remove Tage Thompson from it, and I would say,
just go after
let's
Dahlin.
Focus on Dahlin then.
Still might.
Yeah. Then the conversation would stop.
Ooh.
Unfortunately,
Dahlin's really good, Jim. Really good.
I know. Yeah, the conversation would be over. And then I'd have to come back with something else, something different.
A bird in the hand's worth more than 2 in the bush, Jim.
Yeah, I'd be out once Martone came up. I think he's going to be that good. I think he's going to I think Porter Martone will be the future captain of the Flyers. What's today's date? 12/2?
12/2, yeah.
12/2. You heard it here first. We can look back on this show.
Well, hopefully they're at least having these discussions come this offseason. That's all I ask.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, you want to do the read?
Yeah, we could do the read. Go ahead. Fire it up. We're an hour and 8 minutes in already. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're supposed to do it mid-show. I always forget. All right, guys, quick timeout, because if you're a diehard Philly fan, you need to hear about this. Fans of Philly is the ultimate way to hit the road with the Birds, the Flyers, the Phils, or even the Sixers. We're talking full travel packages, your hotel, your transportation, and yes, the tailgates that are basically legendary at this point, all taken care of for you. No stress, no scrambling for tickets, no worrying about where you're staying. You just show up, throw on your jersey, and enjoy the ride with fellow diehard Philly fans. So whether it's flying out to see the Eagles take over an opponent's arena, cheering on the Flyers in enemy territory, or making a full weekend getaway for the Phillies and Sixers games, Fans of Philly has you covered. Trust me, this is the closest you'll get to feeling like one of the players when they roll into town, because the takeover is real. So check them out. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and start planning your next Philly sports road trip today. That's Fans of Philly, PHFansofPhilly.com, where every away game feels like a home game.
All right, bills paid. Good stuff. Good memory on you there,
Gotta pay
Jay.
those bills, baby. Gotta pay those bills.
All right, so I think we're coming to the end of the show here. I mean, just check our topic list here. I think we got everything. Talked about
How you think they're gonna do post Foerster? We got Buffalo tomorrow. How perfect! A must win based on our discussion tonight. Tomorrow's game against Buffalo is a must win in regulation.
That's funny.
Quite frankly, the exact opposite of our must lose against Buffalo in regulation at the end of last year. How the turntables.
I think unfortunately they're in for a pretty tough stretch here. Now they have a homestand coming up here. Pittsburgh was the first game of a 6-game homestand. Mentioned Buffalo. They then have Colorado on Sunday.
I'll be at that one.
San Jose, who they're playing really well. A lot of young high-end talent on that team. Young goalie playing out of his mind. Where if I wanted to bitch and complain about anything, which I rarely do, they should have been in on Askarov. Playing out of his mind already for a young Sharks team. And then Thursday night they have the Vegas Golden Knights, and they finish off the homestand next Saturday with the Carolina Hurricanes. And look, if I don't know what they're going to look like without Foerster, but I would say they're in for a tough homestand here. And if the Flyers are as competitive as we think they could be, maybe they come out 4-2 at this homestand. Unfortunately, nobody can beat the Avalanche in regulation. San Jose is fun to watch. The Golden Knights, we know, could be a Carter Hart game. And Carolina leads the top of the division. We very well could be looking at a 2-4 homestand here. What are your thoughts?
No, I think that's pretty good. It might even be 1-4-1. I mean, they got to beat Buffalo. The way they started the week is unacceptable. They have to come out and beat Buffalo because they're Buffalo and because we want players on their team. And you got to beat teams that are not as good as you. And that's Buffalo to this point. Colorado's going to be tough. They'll have a lot of time off. That's a Wednesday, and then they'll play again until Sunday. For a Olympic year, they have a lot of lapses in their schedules, which really irritate me. But then, I still expect them to at least play San Jose tough. I would love to see them win. I don't think that's outrageous. Vegas, that's going to be a real tough one. You never know. That's going to be real tough. And you got back-to-back Carolina, 13th and 14th. I think they managed to split that one. But it really, 1-5 isn't out of the realm. I'll say, 2-4 sounds about right. Maybe one of those 4s goes to overtime and they lose, something like that. So ultimately, I see them getting out of a potential, we'll say, 6 games for a total of 12 points. I think they got about 5 points.
Yeah, this could be a tougher month here. So we'll see. What is this? December already? This could be the month that kind of dictates. Like right now, they're in a good position. So I'm not gonna say it's doom and gloom. The Flyers have played pretty well. Currently sitting in the second wild card spot after the loss to the Penguins with 31 points, just 2 points out of second place, where the New Jersey Devils sit, who the Flyers apparently own now. 3 points out of first, not just in the division, but in the entire conference. So, I'm not going to sit here and say the Flyers are a bad team. They're going to be in trouble. But they only have 74 goals scored this year, and they just lost their leading goal scorer, and they're arguably best defensive forward. So for me, this week's going to be, let's see how they respond to adversity. Foerster's one of the more popular guys in the room. I mean, how do you react when you lose one of your best players for 3 months? Let's see. Because I have no idea how they're going to be. I didn't think that they'd be 14-8-3 at 25 games in the season.
That's
here
true.
they are.
That's true. It's actually a pretty decent point here from Princess of Sicily. Vladar never played this much. I don't know how true that is. Time will definitely catch up. There is a chance that Vladar stops being the Vladar we've come to know and love at this point. And if that happens on top of the injuries, look out. Look out.
Wait, what is this here? I'm sorry. I'm just catching up in the comments, Jack. So Hammer Nuts 123, living in Colorado now, former South Jersey native. I can attest that Avs fans are a bunch of skirts. Interesting. Oh, Zach, our buddy Zach, I'll be at the Avs and Sharks making the trip out Saturday. Oh, Zach, let us know when you're out, man. Send us an address. We'll send you some gear, man.
Long-time fan, we know.
Flying to Philly for Carolina game.
Hammered Nuts. That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm not, part of me is not surprised. I feel like not the same out there in Colorado anymore.
Yeah. All right. So we'll see. We're an hour and 15 in. We have some homework to do. We'll put some trade scenarios together for next week with Buffalo. And hopefully we're talking about a few more Flyers wins. A lot of games coming up in the next 2 weeks. 8 in the next 2 weeks. So actually 9 in the next 2 week and a half. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the Flyers are now without arguably one of their better forwards, if not their best so far in this season. Jack, anything to add before we wrap up?
I think that's it, Jimmy. Let's see what happens this week. Hope for the best. And here's to banking. Making it work.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight's episode. For Jack, I'm Jim. Don't forget to keep it high, keep it wide. We'll see you guys next week on HW Hockey. Good night.
All right. Hammer.
Thanks for watching HW Hockey. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.